At this point in time, someone could pay a lot of attention to what is taking place in the Levant. Along with this, they can pay a fair amount of attention to what is taking place in Eastern Europe. They might not just see and hear what is happening, feel a variety of different feelings and then be able to carry on with their life though. They might not even think about and be emotionally affected by what is happening from time to time when they are doing other things either. Instead, they can be generally emotionally distressed when they are not being exposed to what is taking place in these parts of the world and others. In fact, they can be so affected emotionally that they typically find it hard to focus on anything else. When they are at work or with their friends and family, they are generally not going to be very present. Due to what is going on for them, they are not going to be able to live a normal life. Now, if they were to talk to a trusted friend or family member about what is going on for them, they could be told that, given what is going on in the world, how they feel and are behaving is normal. Furthermore, they could be told that how they feel is a reflection of how much they care about the world and other people suffering. They can then be seen as behaving in the right way and being a good human being. If this were to take place, they could end up feeling understood, supported, and good about themselves. However, if this were to take place, they could speak to someone else who says, in one way or another, that how they feel is not helping the world, and neither is it helping them. This person could point out that they are like a doctor who gets into bed with their sick patient. In this case, the patient will be ill, and although the doctor isn't ill, they will be acting as though they are. Of course, this won't help the patient, and neither will it help the doctor, but the doctor will merge with their patient nevertheless. After hearing this analogy, they could simply dismiss what is said and not take the time to think about it. They could just accuse the other person of lacking empathy and compassion and being too consumed with their own life to care about others. If so, they will continue to be heavily affected by what is going on in the world and suffer as a result. After a while, they could end up feeling so drained that it is difficult for them to get out of bed and function. Assuming that this doesn't happen and they do have a conversation with someone who talks about how living in this way is not serving the world or themselves, they could reflect on their life. At this point, part of them could wonder why they are living in this way. This part can see that while they do care about the suffering in the world, it is not a good idea for them to run themselves into the ground in the process. This part can think about how they can do more for the world if they are emotionally settled and in their center than they can if they can't function. It can see that this doesn't mean that they don't care. What it means is that they don't allow their care for others to cause them to harm themselves. Nonetheless, there can be another part of them that has a strong need to behave in the same way. If they were to imagine changing their behavior, so no longer allowing their emotional state to be defined by what is going on in the world and experiencing boundaried empathy, they could feel anxious and fearful and guilty and ashamed. If this is the case, it will show that to a big part of them, not being focused on and caught up in what is going on externally is seen as something that is a threat to their survival and is wrong. Assuming that this is what takes place, they can wonder why this part of them is this way. But as confusing as this is likely to be, if they were able to go back in time and observe their early years, they might soon realize why they are this way. So this may have been a stage of their life when their mother and perhaps their father was emotionally unavailable and out of reach. Also, this parent might have been emotionally unstable, needy, and more like their child than their parent. As a result, they would have been greatly deprived and deeply wounded, and unable to develop a felt sense of their own worth and lovability. To minimize the pain that they experienced and to try to be loved, they would have lost touch with their connected and embodied true self and developed a disconnected, disembodied, outer-directed, and unboundaried false self. In other words, they would have lost touch with a number of their needs and feelings and connection to their body, and become focused on their parents' needs and done what they could to meet them, freely expressing themselves as opposed to being focused on and being there for them would have probably caused them to be rejected, criticized, and even left. This stage of their life will be over, of course, but they will still be in a disconnected state and will still be trying to earn their parents' love. Now that they are an adult, to their unconscious mind, the people in the world who are suffering will represent the parent who they were made to feel responsible for. Furthermore, they will also be an externalization of the split-off parts of themselves that are wounded. Thus, by being caught up in what is going on externally, they will symbolically be focused on their parent and trying to earn their love, and by allowing their inner world to merge with what is going on, they will be staying loyal to this parent. Not behaving in this way will then bring up what would have happened if they didn't focus on their parent, blend with their emotional state, and try to please them. Taking all this into account, for them to be able to get back into their body, to know where they begin and end, what they are and are not responsible for, to feel worthy and deserving of having their needs met, and to be able to have the energy that they need to change what they can change. They are going to have conditioning to question, pain to face and work through, and unmet developmental needs to experience. This will take courage, support, patience, and persistence. If you would like to find out more about the services that I offer, please go to www.oliverjrcooper.co.uk or email me at info@oliverjrcooper.co.uk, and I'm looking forward to assisting you on your journey.